What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM Media. We are streaming to on this Friday morning exclusively on the DSM YouTube channel. But guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, make sure to check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And while you're over on the Twitter page, make sure to check out the link tree in our bio. It will take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive throughout any of our shows, today's show, or catch any of the DSM pregame lives, make sure to check out the YouTube link specifically. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications to let you know whenever we go live here at DSM. And it's the best spot to be interactive here with your host. I'm one half of them today, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. To my right, my faithful co-host Scotty. You can find him as well at Scotty Drown. My man, happy Friday. Lot to discuss, but what's going on with you?
Happy Friday, man. Yeah, definitely a lot to discuss. You got a little bit of a divide in the Philadelphia fan base about some of the topics that have been going around, specifically Sixers off season. Of course, the Phillies, they're getting hot at the right time, or about time that they get hot, I guess you can put it.
That's a good point.
They're finally over 500, and then of course we start our Eagles segment, which I'm excited to get that going today and talk about predictions for some of our players for this upcoming season. So should be fun overall. Happy Friday. It feels like it's been a long week. I was talking to you about it before the show. I was feeling like sick to my stomach. It's like I'm like tired and like I don't know. It was a weird week.
Official summer days or what's going on here?
The only difference is that there hasn't been NBA basketball, so I don't even know. Like, I don't know what the cause of it is, but nonetheless, I'm happy it's Friday. We're to the weekend. I got a 3-day weekend with the Juneteenth holiday on Monday, so I get off work, which is nice. So yeah, happy Friday, man. I'm glad to be here with you.
Yes, sir. So for everybody out there that does not know, our Eagles segment that we will be doing every day live here on the Phaithful Phanatics show throughout this long summer heading into the 2023 Eagles campaign will be an Eagle a day. So we are randomly selecting an Eagles player that we know is going to be on the 53-man roster, right? We're not talking any depth pieces. We're not going to talk about, the long snapper and everything like that. But we put about 35 different players into our wheel generator, spun it last night for the first time. And our Eagle a day for today's show to start off this segment is Jalen Carter. So we will get to him later on in the show. What are your expectations? What are your predictions for the rookie in his first season in Eagles green? But let's start with the Philadelphia Phillies, man, who take down the Arizona Diamondbacks 5-4 yesterday, and taking 3 out of the 4 in Arizona. And it's huge, Scotty. It's very, very important that the Phillies got this done heading into Oakland. I know, right? Oakland's been the talk of the MLB for the last week or so. They won 7 or 8 in a row. They took the first 2 games from the Tampa Bay Rays, who are the best team in the league right now. They had the reverse boycott where like 25,000 of them showed up to the Coliseum, basically screaming at ownership to sell the team, right? So they've been the talk of the town, but they have lost the last 2 against Tampa Bay. They have come back down to earth. I'm only expecting 7,000, maybe, if that, in the Coliseum for this Philly series. So it was huge for the Phils, who have now won, I believe, 10 of their last 12. They've won 4 straight series. Obviously, they took 2 out of 3 at home versus the Dodgers, now 3 out of 4 against Arizona. And here's what stood out to me over these last 3 games specifically, and including the first loss, which was just, as Doc Rivers would call it, I guess, a scheduled loss with that 5th starter bullpen kind of game there, right? I saw resilience for the first time in this ball club this series. I saw fight. And what I mean by that is, okay, you lose the first game in weird, heartbreaking fashion, right? You blow a 5-run lead. It's a bullpen game. There's non-MLB arm after non-MLB arm getting to pitch for the Phillies in this one. You claw back. You're down 9-8. You think Cody Clemens hits a home run. It goes just foul. Game ends a pitch or 2 later. Very weird ending to that game. So you lose that one after taking 2 out of 3 versus the Dodgers. Then they come out and smack around the Arizona Diamondbacks with a 15-run performance. 15-3, they win that next game. Then in the third game, Seranthony Dominguez gives up a 3-run moonshot in the 8th inning to blow a 3-0 lead, and it's 3-3. They go on to win that game in the 10th in extras. You come out the next day, Nola on the mound, 3-0 lead. Has one of those classic Nola implodes, right? In the Rav fourth inning, right? The lovely Rav fourth inning. We're down 4-3. The very next half inning, the top of the 5th, the bats come around again and they retake the lead 5-4. Nola, Sir Anthony, Soto, and Kimbrel never look back. They showed resilience. They showed fight. There were a bunch of times the Arizona Diamondbacks hit one out or made a big play or had a big inning throughout the last 2 games where you thought the Phillies could fold like they had earlier on in the season, and they didn't. Bryson Stott stays hot. Bryce Harper getting going. Trey Turner getting going. Yeah. June Schwarber is it's real, man. I don't know what it is, but it's real. and Nick Castellanos should be an all-star, man. This lineup is getting going. Ranger Suarez, Taijuan Walker, Zach Wheeler, and to his credit, outside of a bad 4th inning, Aaron Nola got through 6 or almost through 6.
Yeah.
Scoreless outside of that. Or almost through 7, excuse me.
Yeah, 6.2 innings pitched. It looks like, yeah, you're right, at the top of the 4th. Yeah, it was a good win, a good series win, I would say, because you're talking about a Diamondbacks team that has been very good this year, and for the Phillies
best record in the NL.
Go into Arizona and take 3 of 4. I mean, that's just incredible. And then you combine it with the Dodgers series. They've won 5 out of their last 7 against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Like you said, they're 10-4 in the month of June, so they're really getting it going. They're over 500 for the first time since May 13th. So it's been literally a month of being below 500. So to get back over that hump is kind of just like a mental. Yeah. Once you achieve that mental goal, now the sky's the limit. They can move forward because the hardest part is getting to 500, and then the next hardest is getting over 500.
Especially when it took that long.
When it took that long, and you're in the MLB where there's a game every day, so there's no time to think about what happened yesterday. You got to move on quick. But I love what you said. It comes down to the bats, right? And you look at this game yesterday where it's a 5-4 win for the Phillies. And like you said, guys came up in big spots. Bryce Harper, obviously, I think it was at the 4th or the 5th inning, he comes out and he hits the RBI. It was either Trey or Schwartz to get home. One or the other.
Schwarber, I believe, because
I think that ended up winning the game.
He had double after Stubbs led off the inning with a walk. And that drove in Stubbs with Schwarber's double. And then Bryce was able to get Schwarber in, I believe.
Driving Schwarber.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get Bryce Harper with the game-winning RBI. You look aside from him, there's 4, 5 other Phillies that had multi-hits.
Yeah, I didn't even mention JT because he had the day off yesterday. But my God, JT.
He was a monster in this series because the night before with Ranger, 1 for 4, but 2 RBIs, 1 home run.
Right,
and then
he home run.
The cycle in the first game. So
he tripled in the second game.
I mean, these guys are hitting right at the right moment all together, and you just got to hope that they can keep this going because the pitching is going well, right? Nola, outside of 1 inning, was really solid. Ranger Suarez was great. My man was playing with some confidence and swagger that you just haven't seen from him all season, pretty much since the playoffs, the postseason last year. You haven't seen that swagger from Ranger, obviously due to injuries, but everybody's getting going. There was talk about Trey and his slump in the month of May, and he turned it on in June. And maybe it's the good weather. I don't know what it is for the Phillies, but they're starting to play really good baseball. They're fun to watch. I think that's like a big thing here too. Is like when the team is sucking and they're not playing up the part, you're not going to have fun watching them. But when they're making dumb mistakes, when they're shooting themselves in the foot, when they're not getting big timely hits with runners in scoring position, those are the types of things that make it not fun. When you got your bats loaded and they're ready to go and they're out here getting multiple hits a game between each other, that's when you're having fun with this Phillies unit, and that's what it's supposed to be like. We talked about this at the beginning of the season, Dylan, and you've re-emphasized it all season. This is one of the best lineups in the MLB.
Yeah.
they are now getting just about fully healthy. Obviously, they're
Right.
not going to get Reese back, but you're getting just about fully healthy with getting Bryce back, getting Bohm back in the lineup. He had a multi-hit game yesterday.
Yeah.
Just having all your guys there and all your guys in rhythm. It's actually insane the way Nick Castellanos is playing. It's like you
Bryson
don't.
Stott too, dude. He's back over hitting over 300.
Yeah, he cranks out a home run in the second inning yesterday. I mean, you look at Nick Castellanos and it's like you don't want to. It's almost like you don't want to underappreciate it.
Yeah.
But he's like doing it at almost every game,
Yeah.
multi-hit or a multi-base hit, whatever the case may be. It is crazy what we're watching right now, but it's making me happy, man. And, you look at the month of June and what's left. There's a couple games outside of this next series. Obviously, you have Oakland, the 3 in Oakland.
Yep.
That's going to be interesting. I think you have to win that series.
Exactly. That's why it's big. It's not big because of the opponent and the challenge that's up next. It's big because you are expected to at least
they're
win
playing
that
great.
series. It is at least 2 out of 3.
You do need to win.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then after Oakland, you get the Atlanta Braves, and then you get the New York Mets. And
At home.
We've talked about that at home, exactly. And we talked about that before the Arizona and the LA Dodgers series because we knew how big those 7 games would be towards them getting back towards 500 or over 500 as they are now. Well, they're there. So now you just got to take care of business from here on out. You don't really have to have like those short-term goals, I guess. You just need to play consistent baseball at this point because you're back over that hump.
Now, you said a lot of big things in terms of the lineup there because the one thing that stood out to me, you said, this is – what did you say? This is what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And what I took from that is that, that was Dave Dombrowski's goal. That is what this roster and this lineup was constructed to do. Now, it took over a month and a half to finally get the production we foresaw before the season ever began. But we're here. And listen, they're going to go through hitting slumps. Like this 8 runs, 15 runs, 5 runs, 6 runs, that's not going to keep up, right? Costi and Stott both hitting over 300 for who knows how long that keeps up, but they at least have a number of guys that can carry the lineup at a time, right? If it's not Costi and Stott, it could be Bryce and Trey. If it's not Bryce and Trey, it could be Schwarber and Bohm. They have a lot of dudes that can step up and go on these kinds of streaks. And I want to shout out Rob Thompson for a second too, because he caught a lot of flack through the month of May, and rightfully so, man. Like he was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but what he did was something that not a lot of Phillies fans, and myself probably included, wanted him to do, and that was put Kyle Schwarber back in the leadoff spot when this team finally started to regain its health in the lineup. And a lot of people were against it because you brought in Trey Turner, the way Bryson Stott was hitting and is hitting, and what you saw him do in the leadoff spot. Yes, Kyle Schwarber's average is still below 200. Even in the month of June, with all these home runs and all these big numbers, he's only hitting slightly over 200. But his OPS is over 900. That's the bigger number.
That's what matters.
That's the more important thing. And it's shout out to Rob Thompson for sticking with that.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
You put him there. Trey goes to the 2 where I said Trey should be the 2 or the 3 before the season began, the 2 because of Bryce. But guess what? Bryce isn't even the 3 hole right now because he's got Costi up there because of the faith and the trust he's instilled in Castellanos and what he's been able to do. Bryce is in the 4. Shout out to Rob Thompson for the lineup. And also there was a key part of yesterday's game if you happen to catch on. And I know a lot of people were tweeting about it. He goes back to Sir Anthony Dominguez. And that's huge for me. And that's trust, and that's faith, and that's belief in your big time guys to get the job done. Because Sir Anthony has, I don't know, he's had a good year, but he's had a couple moments where you're like, something's not right. And you go back to two nights ago, and he's got 2 outs, 2 strikes on Christian Walker, a 3-0 lead, and he hangs one. And it's like something is not right with Sir Anthony Dominguez. Well, he goes back to him, and Sir Anthony shuts the door. And the next day, the very next afternoon, less than 24 hours later. That's big, man. That's belief. That's faith. That is everything from a manager, a coach, to his players. And That's what you just have to respect out of Rob Thompson. But yeah, man, Schwarber over a 900 OPS. It's going back to the leadoff spot. Trey's finding his stride. He looks more comfortable. He's on base every game. Castellanos, Stott stay hot. JT, Connor Thomas tweeted this out yesterday. I don't know if we've ever seen JT Real Muto on a run like he is right now at the plate.
He's playing insane. Yeah,
it's unbelievable, dude.
It's crazy the way, a month can switch the way in your perspective of a team. Like, just not even a full month. We're 16 days into June, and
right.
It can change our entire perception of the team. Like, we are sitting here praising Rob Thompson for keeping the faith and holding the fort and sticking true to what he believes in. Ultimately, he was relying on these guys to come through for him. Yeah. Like, that's what it comes down to. The guys just have to play better. And they are, and that faith is showing true. It is interesting, man. JT Real Muto, people were really down on him at the beginning of the season as well. And you talk about that. Obviously, I'm losing it. The World Baseball Classic. I couldn't think. I'm thinking World Cup and like all different types of names there. Olympics, the World Baseball Classic, and you think about how it was just talked about lightly at the beginning of the season, how that may affect the likes of Schwarber, Trey Turner, and JT Real Muto. And maybe it did, right? Maybe they are coming out of that funk and starting to play better and get in there.
And also, outside of Trey Turner, the Phillies played into November. While other teams were resting and on vacation and starting their offseason early for a month and a half, the Phillies were playing in the World Series. So you have a shorter offseason, which outside of Schwarber, these guys aren't accustomed. Like JT Real Muto's never played this far into a season. And I know we talk about how he gets a lot of days off. JT Real Muto catches more games than any major league catcher, than any catcher does in the major leagues, okay? So he plays a lot. He played into the World Series. First time going that far in the playoffs. It actually might have been JT's first time ever in the playoffs because it was the first time the Phillies had made it in quite some time, and I don't believe he ever went to the playoffs with the Marlins in his tenure there. So probably the first time in the postseason, he gets to the World Series, short offseason, plays and catches in the World Baseball Classic, doesn't really have a spring training, and then gets thrown into the fire here. Listen, the pitch clock, everything's different. I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying people were wrong to panic. Hell, me and you got on here, and we were down on the Phillies. We said they got to prove me otherwise because I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not. Yeah. They were lifeless at a point. Okay.
Faith can only take us so far. Rob Thompson can have faith in his players. He's in the clubhouse with them every day.
When you're 7 games under 500 and you're losing a game to the Nationals, things are pretty bleak. Yeah. However, I need to go back to what we talked about in the first week of May, and that is it is a very long season. There are going to be more woes. There are going to be more cold streaks from this lineup. You got to ride through it.
Yep.
Because the way they're playing right now is the way they played in October. And that's no guarantee. It's no guarantee that a streaky team and a streaky lineup can lead to another World Series run.
That's why I had to walk
this is the style of play that got you there. I will say this last thing before we move on. As important and as fun and as great as the bats are right now, as much as this lineup is providing for this team and for this fan base right now is huge. But it's why this pitching staff is even bigger. Because like I said, there are going to be struggles within this lineup throughout the long summer months. There's going to be a weak stretch where maybe they don't score more than 3 runs in a game and they're struggling with runners in scoring position again. But it's important when that's happening that Ranger Suarez can get you into the 7th inning. That Aaron Nola doesn't give up a 5-run inning in the 3rd. That Zach Wheeler continues to be dominant because that's what this lineup needs. Because you see how even when the pitching struggles and the pitching gives up, blows a lead, the bats are there for them when they're going. I need the arms. I need this pitching staff to be there for the lineup. Yeah. When they have a down week in August, right?
Yeah.
That's what I need to see. And we'll see what happens, man. This, like I said, maybe there isn't a drought anytime soon because of how many guys are just too talented in this lineup.
To your point, I think what you're saying there is that at the end of the day, pitching is your consistent. Like that's
Yeah.
what you. It's similar to other sports when you talk about defense, right? Defense wins you championships. Defense is what stays steady. If you're on the road, yeah, you might not be able to hit shots, you might not be able to score points, right? But you can play defense, and that's where the pitching aspect comes
Scotty, they
into
got no
play.
hit in the World Series.
Exactly. So like when you're looking at these guys and the way they're playing right now, you mentioned Rangers especially. What they're doing is huge. You just got to keep it up,
Yeah.
and that's why I had to like walk myself back at the beginning because it's like they're playing really great baseball, and I said right at the right time. That's not necessarily true. Right at the right time would be September going into October. That would be
right
the
in
best
the right
time to get
time,
hot.
as in they needed to do this to
Now or
keep
never.
the fan base interested for the summer.
Yeah,
Because,
now or never.
Yeah, if you continue to struggle, and after the Nationals and Tigers, you lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers at home, and maybe you split with Arizona, that it wouldn't have been good enough if you lost the series to Dodgers and split with Arizona. So
yeah, I
what
agree.
they did now was big. I get what you're saying. Yeah, the right time is September, October baseball.
Yeah.
That's when but they needed to do this
They
before
needed it now.
the wheels really fell off of this team, and Dombrowski had a lot
Would
of
you,
phone calls to make.
What do you think of Craig Kimbrell this season, man? I saw some
Monster,
talk about
bro.
I saw some talk about him on Twitter. I think it was David Esser, a guy I used to do pods with.
Yeah.
He's a big writer down in Texas now, but he still follows the Phillies closely.
Yeah.
And he said, if Craig Kimbrell, had games like this last season,
year,
he would have been on a multi-year
deal.
contract. So
Yeah.
interesting that the
I
Phillies
think it's true,
get
man.
him.
And listen, that's why ERA is a tough number to follow in itself. Like, it's important, but you can't just look at ERA by itself and ignore all the other, numbers and statistics. It's also why like numbers like average and ERAs are so skewed at this time of the year. It's because there's limited outings, there's limited at bats at this point.
Yeah.
Now, once it hits July, August, those numbers won't fluctuate as much with performance in each at bat. Right now, right now, Bryson Stott cold streak could take him from a 301 to a 282. You know what I mean? Like, that's how much they can move. Like, Kimbrell has like a 4.5 ERA.
Yeah.
It doesn't look pretty. It's not like he's got like a 1.90 ERA.
You've seen him in big spots, and you see
10 for 10 in save opportunities. Opponent batting average is like under 200 against him. His whip is fine. He's been good, man. He's been good. And the one thing that's funny is he got the save yesterday with having like 3 or 4 pitch clock violations, and they weren't all the same. Like, something was off though. I did want to point this out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just me that noticed it, but he got the one and he's had this done before, because he wants to go, and he goes before the batter is set at the 8-second mark. So they tell him he's got to wait because the batter has until 8 seconds to make eye contact with the pitcher, right? So he gets one there. But then I noticed, dude, by the time he got the ball back, the batter wasn't even set. The batter still had his head down, like getting ready, and the pitch clock was at 8 seconds. Which technically is a batter's violation. So they either started that pitch clock way too early, or they put it at like 12 when he got the ball back, because that second one where he didn't get the ball off in time, I promise you, I'm not making this up from the bottom of my heart. Both pitcher and batter were not aware, because this thing was at 8 or 7 and the batter's head was down and he's getting adjusted, and they hit him with it again. It's like, man, that one's not right. That one's off or something. But regardless, Craig Kimbrell's been unbelievable. Jose Alvarado 2 nights ago.
Yeah, man.
I think he had 11 pitches of 100 miles an hour or above. He hit 102 on a couple throws. Scotty, when his control is even somewhat around the zone, doesn't have to be in the zone. If he is border and just out, that sinker, that movement, that speed, they got no shot.
See, and this is where we're at with the Phillies, right? This a good month of June, and we're talking about all their key pieces.
Exactly. That's why May was so frustrating for myself, for you, and for those negative fans out there on social media. Like, they had a right to be negative. It's just some took it to another extent of the
far.
season's over, this
Fire
team's
Rob
trash,
Thompson.
fire the manager, blah, blah, blah. That's ridiculous. But to the point of being upset with their performances, look at how we talk about these guys.
Yeah.
Like when Jose Alvarado's on, good luck.
Yeah.
When this lineup's going, I'm naming all the guys, what they're doing, good luck. They're uber talented, dude. They have a World Series-esque roster put together right now. There's holes. Yeah, first base seems like, but Cody Clemens has been fine, but it's, that's not a World Series first baseman, right? The fifth starter, that every 5 days having a bullpen game. Yeah, that's a problem. Some of the names that Rob Thompson was throwing out of the bullpen game in game 1, that's a problem. But for the most part, the top end talent, it's world class. And that's why you expect more when Bryce Harper returns and Alec Boehm returns and Ranger Suarez comes back. That's what you expect to see out of the Phillies. They're playing great ball. They start in Oakland tonight and more 9:40 games. God damn, man. Get home. Get away from this West Coast trip. But nonetheless, we will see what they can do in Oakland over the weekend. We'll be back on Monday morning breaking down the fight. And I'll say it better be at least a 2-1 series in regards to the Phillies. And we'll have something more positives to say about them. If they somehow lose this series, well, we'll talk about that as well. But let's move on, because while the Phillies are a topic and Dombrowski's a topic, and all of a sudden, this fan base doesn't want the 2022 NL MVP and Paul Goldschmidt. That's not even going to get into it. I find it funny. Would I give up Andrew Painter? No, I'm not suggesting that. But there are people, I've seen people out there that just don't want him because he's 35. Okay, whatever. Speaking of that kind of conversation, you and I did a Would You Rather on Wednesday, and it was based around Bradley Beal and kind of the feel around the city and Sixers Twitter and how down they are on Bradley Beal. Well, a few hours after our show, it is released that Bradley Beal and management are going to work together to find a new home for the gentleman.
Yeah.
That sounds great to me. Except the Sixers aren't interested. Not only are they not interested in trading for Bradley Beal, evidently, they're not interested in bringing in Fred VanVleet if James Harden decided to walk as well. So no Bradley Beal. If this is the case, no James Harden, no Fred VanVleet. Oh, but it's okay because Daryl Morey's looking to acquire some second-round picks for next Thursday's draft, Scotty. It's okay. And I want to get into this conversation because our fan base is irking me. And guys, feel free to comment. If you disagree with me, disagree with me. I love it. But for some reason, we're the smartest person in the room right now. Our fan base is seeing something in this drastic Bradley Beal decline at 29 years old. The worst contract in the NBA. In 2027, he's going to be making $55 million, $60 million. So we can't trade for Bradley Beal. No one wants him here in Philadelphia. But do you know who wants him? The reigning Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat. The other team rumored for him, the Milwaukee Bucks, the 2021 NBA champions. Probably going to be the odds-on favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference to start next season, betting-wise. So we, as this deprived, poverty, second-round exit organization, are somehow now this too smart for everybody else, and our fan base is taking this on as well. We know it's a bad idea to go out after Bradley Beal because of the contract and the money and the age and the decline. But two of the most storied and successful Eastern Conference teams over the last decade, half a decade, they're missing something, right?
Basically, two of the three teams that own the Sixers in the Eastern Conference are definitively interested in Bradley Beal and trying to make that happen.
They're missing something, Scotty. We know it's a bad idea.
I wouldn't even put it past the Boston Celtics to think about it and go look into it and see what Bradley Beal costs, because that's what smart franchises do. If you're trying to win a championship, like I don't know, man. It got to the point where it's just really annoying to see the things that are twisted around and thrown around. And you got it to the point where people were saying like it was like James Harden versus Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal presents nothing better than James Harden is some of the
Oh,
takes that I saw.
he doesn't?
Come on, man. I mean,
Okay.
it's getting ridiculous. I've seen people call Bradley Beal washed.
Oh, okay.
He's 29 years old. And
Okay.
if you like we talked about the other day, it's just so lazy because if you look into the numbers, you see what Bradley Beal was trying to do over the last 2 seasons. He was trying to play more as a better team and a leader and get his teammates involved.
He's in a poverty situation.
Poverty Washington Wizards franchise. Like, what do you want him to play for exactly? And so I don't know, man. It just like you said, thinking we're the smartest guy in the room, just completely overthinking the situation. And it's simple for me, honestly. It's simple for me. You mentioned it at the top of this segment. The fact that the Bucks and the Heat are interested in
Yeah.
getting Bradley
It
Beal
tells you
should tell you
everything you need
something
to
alone.
know.
It should tell you everything you need to know about the situation. And the part that bothers me the most about it, Dylan, it's not the fact that we may not end up getting Bradley Beal or that we may not get Fred VanVleet.
Go ahead, say it.
It's the fact that we come out and we say we're not interested.
Oh, I know.
Like, why do we have to
thought you were gonna
declare
say
that?
the fact that Bradley Beal's going to go to South Beach and he's going to drop 25 on us in the second
Why
round.
do we
and we're
have
gonna
to
go home
declare that we're not interested
Yeah.
in Van Vliet or Bradley Beal? Why can't we just go and keep it on the low and just see?
Right.
See what they cost.
Right, because at this point, that's not posturing. It's not posturing to say you're not interested in trading.
That's all your eggs in one basket. I want James Harden. Fuck the rest of them. Like
Right.
that's bad business.
Listen,
That's
man,
very bad business.
the same people that are anti-Bradley Beal are the same people excited over the rumor that Daryl Morey is trying to acquire second-round draft picks next Thursday. Same group of people. There's a disconnect from me and you guys, man. If you're out there, if you're listening, if you're watching, explain to me your thought process. Because I promise you guys, you can watch all the college basketball you want. You can break down all the film you want. You know a lot more about these guys than I do, okay? But I promise you don't know as much as you think you do. So to come out here and try to talk and tweet and tell me that guys in our G League developmental system, guys that we could get in the second round is what you want, but Bradley Beal isn't. Hell, to them, maybe
Bro.
James Harden even isn't either. Are you?
Bro.
I'm trying to win a championship, dude. So freaking who's coming up? Louis King, Scott. Is Louis King going to help the Sixers inch closer to a championship?
He's
the one
up,
guy
Dylan.
you could sell me on because he was called up. I get the defense. I see the videos, the shot making, everything. Jaden Springer could definitely have a role on this team. He could be a bench piece. I'm not against it. I like it. I hope it works out. He was a first-round draft pick for him last year. That's all well and good. But you're trying to sell me on unproven talent when an all-star is available and you don't want him because of his contract. But that doesn't seem to be a problem for two of the teams that won the East in the last 4 years.
It's funny, man, because you see Milwaukee and basically what they're looking at. They're gonna basically let Chris Middleton go, who's 33, 34 years old, and they're gonna bring in 29-year-old Bradley Beal.
They're at least going to attempt to.
Sounds like a great idea, right? Getting younger in a sense. Trading your 33-year-old for a 29-year-old. It's literally James Harden and Bradley Beal. I mean, it's the same situation, and yet we're going the opposite direction. Now, I'm not saying that Chris Middleton is better than James Harden, or not getting into that conversation. I'm not talking about that. But you literally have Sixers fans talking about, I'd rather keep Tobias Harris. Like, are we joking?
The same people
for the last 3-4 years
about Tobias Harris
begging for him to be traded.
Contract here. Same
begging
people,
for him to be traded.
People.
Bro, I saw somebody saying no to the Sixers getting Bradley Beal, but then they mocked up a 3-team trade where the Sixers get Drew Holiday and the Bucks get Bradley Beal. You want Drew Holiday? You want Drew Holiday? He's talking about retiring. And we want Drew Holiday. We want Drew Holiday over Bradley Beal. Are we joking?
Come off as they're the smartest person in the room. Man, I need to address this James Harden versus Bradley Beal thing because it's been bugging me over the last couple of days. But it's you. If you're out there, comment, please have this conversation with me. I want to know your mindset. Again, I'm not totally out on bringing James Harden back. I'm not. Again, if you're not interested in Beal or Van Vliet, you almost have to bring Harden back.
You have to.
I'm terrified of the alternative, right? People want to talk about this decline that Bradley Beal is on at age 29, and those 2 years of averaging 30 plus, and then he got his money. Those are outliers, and you see the dip in production over the last 2 years. And yeah, they ignore his style of play and the bad team and the injuries and whatever. They ignore all that. Okay. And yeah, he had a 7-point decrease. But the same people that are against Bradley Beal and are saying James Harden should come back, even in this great decline, Bradley Beal puts up more points than James Harden. Bradley Beal shoots the ball more effectively and efficiently from the field than James Harden. So what are you talking about?
I feel you, man. That is really what it is. It's a WTF moment.
You don't want Bradley Beal back because he only averages 23 over the last 2 seasons and he's on a decline. But you want James Harden back, who averaged 21 and shot 40% from the floor. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. It does not make sense to me.
What's up, RB?
You know something that comes to my mind. It's very simple as far as the difference between James Harden and Bradley Beal. And when you think about Nick Nurse, and I think DJ Eastwood talked about this a little bit on Twitter yesterday, but you think about Nick Nurse in an offense that spreads the ball around. You can get assists from multiple areas within the offense. You don't need a facilitating point guard per se. You just need guys who can hit shots and guys that can get in the lane. And so when you think about that, and then you think about James Harden, who likes to have the ball in his hands and him be the guy, the maestro and the facilitator, but he can't finish at the rim. So when he gets in the lane and he can't finish at the rim, that's one facet of the offense that is missing. Meanwhile, we're having people calling Bradley Beal washed. And I'm seeing Bradley Beal. I go and look at Bradley Beal highlights and recaps from last season. He's dunking on guys' heads. I did not see Harden do that once. He dunked once last season. He dunked once.
Hi, Scotty. He had a career high in field goal percentage. In this mysterious decline that everybody
so frustrating, man. Like,
apparently, he shot 50% from the floor, and he never did that before in his career.
They'll sit here and watch Tobias Harris score 2 points in a closeout game in the second round of the playoffs, and then they will say, I will rather have Tobias Harris on the Sixers. Like, that does not make sense, man. I don't care about the money.
You know why? But do you know why? Because of the contract and the money. But Tobias Harris is making almost $40 million a year.
and the biggest thing for me, Dylan, is like, okay, so you trade Tobias Harris for nothing, right? You get rid of the money, and now you have a max slot next offseason. Who are you signing that is better than Bradley Beal?
I've seen you on Twitter. I've seen you active on Twitter, man, asking these people, like, because so many people are throwing out the idea of saving for next offseason.
There's nobody better.
For draft class. There's more star talent. Who? This is I know what I love.
Not coming to Philadelphia.
It's just like when fans say that they want to trade for somebody or they want this person traded, but they have no idea where to begin. And when I say, for what? Why would that team do this? Who are you giving up? Well, I don't know, but I want him. That's not an answer.
And it's
just like, well, I want to save for the 2024 offseason. Well, who do you want? I don't know, but I want to say for the 20. It's not an answer.
And I won't lie to you, man. It's honestly, it's not just the fans. It's frustrating the way the Sixers are going about this as well. Because
I
like
agree.
you see the report the same day when we talked about this on Wednesday. Comes out and says the Sixers aren't going to go after Bradley Beal. They believe Tyrese Maxey can be an all-star guard.
What does that have to do with anything?
What does that matter? Yeah, he can be an all-star guard. You can have two.
Scott, and
like, what the fuck, man? Like, what are we doing? You
make a serious argument that Bradley Beal is a better on-floor fit with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey than James Harden is. You can make, I'm not saying he definitively is, but you can make the argument. I don't know, man. I know, like, we're talking Sixers, and I don't know, like, why we
not interested.
Why we're so Bradley Beal driven. It's just, it's the fan base has made me so divided right now.
If you're not interested in those players, then who are you interested in? Like the
Scotty, the second round picks.
The reason that we feel that Fred VanVleet or a Bradley Beal is realistic is because they have ties to the Sixers. Fred VanVleet obviously has the ties with Nick Nurse. Beal has the same trainer as Embiid. Like, there's a reason we think around these ideas, but then the Sixers say, nah, we're going to pivot. We're going after Harden. And then we got a backup plan with the second rounders. So, like, I don't understand, man.
It's depressing because what they've done so far this offseason has been correct, and it's made me believe again. Like, you let go of Doc. You bring in our number one target in Nick Nurse. The coaching, you know, the assistants that they brought in so far, Bobby Jackson, Rico Hines.
Yeah.
We've loved all of it. Everything's been in a positive direction. And now you brought me back down to earth a little bit. And it's just speculation. It's just rumor too. We don't know that the Sixers are definitively out. It's just sources, right?
Yeah.
Some of these, John Clark, Kyle Neubeck, like, these are the guys you would listen to, right? Yeah. So it's like they probably are out on them. And that's the frustrating part for me, because if you're out on them, man, like, again, I'm trying to win a title.
Are they in on Zach LaVine? I mean, Zach LaVine's apparently available. Are they in on him? But that's going to cost you more. So I don't know, man. Like, you would rather give that money to Zach LaVine than Bradley Beal? I mean, they're close. I like Zach LaVine. It's just weird to me, you know, to take yourself out of races. You know what? Let's keep all options open. That's what the Sixers should be on. They should be keeping all options open, not declining anybody. Like,
let's transition to Fred VanVleet for just a second here, because that part, like, made me frustrated as well, because it makes me think of one simple word: why?
Yeah.
Why are you not?
That's not even a money thing.
Why are you not even interested in bringing in Fred VanVleet to follow Nick Nurse here? He's the only former Toronto Raptor to publicly acknowledge Nick Nurse's hiring and talked about Nick Nurse and blah, blah, blah. You saw the fit with Nick Nurse. Fred VanVleet can do a lot of good for this team. And now, if the report means to say the Sixers have no interest in paying Fred VanVleet top dollar,
that's different.
But what if Fred VanVleet said, I'll sign your mid-level exception?
Right.
The Sixers just aren't interested in that?
That's what I mean. Like, to turn your shoulder publicly towards these players. It's like, okay, well, if you are interested after Harden leaves and we're still available, well, we're not interested in you either because you wanted Harden over it. It's sloppy, and, like, you just don't have to put that in the public. Like, even if the Miami Heat or the Milwaukee Bucks aren't interested, the Boston Celtics, right? If they're not interested, they're not trading Jalen Brown, whatever the case may be.
Teams are reportedly interested.
It's not out in public that they're not interested. You don't have to put that out in the public, and it's just weird. It's almost like Sixers writers and reporters were, like, digging and trying to find that just to shut everybody up about it. Because it just doesn't make sense to put all your eggs in one basket, James Harden. It just doesn't make sense, man.
The Harden thing frustrates me, man, because, listen, like, I know it's the main storyline. It's going to have to be the first domino to fall for the Sixers to begin their offseason anyway. But it's rubbing me the wrong way how much, I guess, not just attention, but how like putting all their eggs in this James Harden basket, so to speak, after watching what he did in the postseason.
It's
Again,
funny,
I'm
man.
not out on bringing him back. He had a great regular season. Hell, he was top 10 in MVP voting. James Harden had a very, very good season. James Harden had two of the greatest playoff performances I've seen in a Sixers uniform. He also had four of the worst in one series that cost this team. He looked like he quit in Game 7.
It's funny. I'm trying to find this tweet from DJ Eastwood because he had the numbers for Harden recently, man. And it was
you sent it to me, I think.
The 5 out of the 7 games, right? He had the 2 great games where he scored over 40 points. Let me go to our text messages because
Yeah. You did send that to me.
Just want to pull these numbers out because it's almost sickening to hear some of the
and it hurts because in some way or fashion, when we talk about these numbers and we look back on his playoff performance, you talk yourself out of bringing him back, and that's not what I want to do. But it's almost like you combine what he did with this fan base's lack of I don't want to say lack of knowledge, but this fan base's lack of want, I guess, because I don't know, whatever.
It's just like with the Eagles, man. When somebody says like, "No, we don't need D-Hop as a third receiver," like, what are you talking about? Like, if it's an option, it doesn't matter what you need. Like, these are the things that I'm talking about. Like, okay, so I got it pulled up here, man. So James Harden had 2 40-plus point games in the series versus Boston Celtics. The other 5 games, bro, 13.4 points per game. He was 16 for 68 from the field. He had 17 turnovers and a negative 63 plus minus.
You know who wouldn't have those
Very
numbers?
damning. Like,
you know who wouldn't have those numbers?
Bradley Beal. Literally.
Bradley Beal. And then he never plays in the playoffs. I promise you, Bradley Beal wouldn't average 13 and, on whatever percent. What percentage of shooting is that? 30? Less than 30?
The last time he was in the playoffs, he averaged 30 points per game against the Sixers.
He did.
Let me get it pulled up here.
Oh, I know. Oh, he tore us up in the
30 points per game. 45.5% from the field. He did shoot miserably from the 3-point line, but nonetheless,
he's
30 points per game.
He's not going to be a knockdown 3-point shooter. He can shoot the 3, but that's not who he is. He's right around or slightly below league average.
And maybe with the Sixers getting wide open shots off Embiid, maybe he does become a good shooter from 3-point. Like, look at Maxey. Everybody says about him, but he's one of the best shooters in the NBA next to Embiid.
But, dude, my point is you can make the argument that they don't need him to be that. Like, I'm anti-DeMar DeRozan because he can't shoot the 3.
Yeah,
he refuses to, and when he does, he can't really.
Yeah.
Beal can. He's just around average. He's not great. He's not a 40% 3-point shooter, right? But you can make the argument that if you can get around 50% from the floor with him and 36% from 3 with him, while you have all, the number one
shooters around him
percentage,
you
don't need him to do that. No, I agree.
Too.
It's just when Newbeck reports it and Hudrick reports it and John Clark says he heard it, it seems like there's something there that they're just not interested.
That's the other side for me too, is like, I get you don't want to give Joel every single thing that he asked for. I get that part of it, but he did ask for Bradley Beal. Like he's good friends with him.
Time out.
I don't know, but you fire Doc Rivers for James Harden. Whatever.
Can you give him something he asked for then? Because he obviously wanted Jimmy back. That didn't happen. He apparently didn't want Doc fired. Well, that happened. He wanted Bradley Beal. You gave him James Harden. But James Harden comes in buddy-buddy with Daryl Morey, and James Harden gets Houston teammates. James Harden helps get Doc fired. James Harden gets all this attention in the offseason.
Yeah. It's low key a changing of the guard in a sense in Philadelphia, and it's disgusting. Like it it doesn't make sense, man. And you look at Joel and you think, man, if Miami's able to get Bradley Beal, how does Joel? And I know with the new CBA that it's probably impossible for the Miami Heat to get Embiid if they had Bradley Beal and Jimmy Butler, whatever the case may be. Blah blah blah. If I'm Embiid, I'm looking down in Miami and I'm seeing Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal, two of my best buddies that I've wanted to play with for most of my career, and they're down in Miami playing together. And obviously, Miami coming off an NBA Finals run.
Dude, Joel Embiid has publicly asked for one player, and he got him. And you would have to think that is only because James Harden was here too.
Yeah.
That's PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker probably only comes because James Harden's here. And yeah, Embiid's a great player.
Right. But, all right, let's move on to our final segment before we have to wrap up this Friday show. And that is debuting our Eagle a Day. So throughout the summer here on the Phaithful Fanatic Show, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we are going to be randomly selecting one Eagle that we are going to be highlighting for this upcoming 2023 season, giving our predictions and expectations for this player and his role this year. So we spun the wheel last night, Scotty, and it's only right that we start off this new segment with the Eagles' first round pick, number 9th overall in Jalen Carter. That is our Eagle for this Friday. What are some of your expectations for the kid in 2023?
Yeah, so looking at Jalen Carter, obviously this is one to be excited about, overly excited about, because I think he steps in as a rookie and makes a big difference this year. I know that we're expecting, Jordan Davis to have a little bit of an uptick in playing time and everything, but I don't think that takes away from, Javon, or excuse me, I was about to call him Javon Hargrave. Jalen Carter. Javon Hargrave leaves to San Fran. That creates a huge gap for playing time, right? And I don't think Fletcher Cox is going to take too much of that right now. Milton Williams could get an uptick, but I think Jalen Carter comes in day one, and I think he starts, and I think you should start him to give him that experience. You look at his frame, man, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's only 22 years old, coming out of Georgia. Obviously, they talked about him
probably
being
under 300 now.
Doesn't look out of shape now, right? So, you think about his pro comps, and I checked around, a bunch of different articles, Pro Football Focus, ESPN, Bleacher Report, and the one common comp that I kept seeing across all of those sites is Warren Sapp. And that is just, obviously they give these comps out. They're going to give you the ceiling, right? The ceiling of this player, but it's just an incredible comp when you think about it. And then you think, back to Georgia, and you have a defensive line with Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, right? Jalen Carter is the guy that stands off the page out of those guys. All of those guys were what? First round, second round picks for other teams.
Trayvon Walker went number 1, didn't he, to Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So you think about that defensive line, and you think about how highly touted Jalen Carter is coming from that defensive unit and that defensive line. He's arguably the most talented player to come from that defensive unit, right, in the last 2 years. So thinking of all of that and taking all of that into consideration, taking Javon Hargrave and looking at what he did last year in this Eagles defense, 60 tackles, 11 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 pass deflections. So I'm thinking you put Jalen Carter in that role, probably to a little bit lesser an extent. Yeah. But he can play on rundown, so that is a difference between him and Hargrave, is that he can be in whenever the other team are expected to run. I'm thinking a little bit under Javon Hargrave numbers. The sack numbers, obviously, 11 sacks. I don't expect him to get that his rookie year. I'm thinking anywhere from 4 to 6 sacks.
Yeah,
I think he's.
I have 6+ written down because I didn't want to overdo it. But the fact that you were sitting here and you're telling Hargrave had 11 sacks, it's like he could. Here's why he.
A lot of attention elsewhere on that defensive line.
Well, it's not just that; it's what he's supposed to be.
Yeah,
like the Eagles finally have one of the premier pass rushing, explosive, talented high-end first round picks that need to pan out day one. Because what do we love to do here in Philly? We love development. We love growth. And he's only 21 years old. He's only 22 years old. And we let him sit and we let him learn. And that's all. That's well and good. And that's great. But when you look around the league and you see guys step in like Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
You see guys step in day one. That's what Jalen Carter needs to be, because he was highly touted as the best player in this year's draft.
Yeah.
He only is a Philadelphia Eagle for those off the field issues, right? Yeah. I need him to show up day one.
Yeah.
And I know that's a tall ask for a rookie, and we're not used to that here. I need it to happen because it's what he's supposed to. This pick needs to hit for Howie and for this Eagles organization moving forward because of what he's expected and supposed to be. So something I'm looking for at him, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I know it's a rotation, and I know he'll just be a piece in it and blah, blah, blah. I need him to be top 3 in snap counts on this defensive line and linebacker crew. Well, edge rushing crew, I should say, not linebacker crew. But in terms of Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, all these guys. I need Jalen Carter, Derek Barnett. I need Jalen Carter to be top 3 in snap counts per game for the Eagles to show me that motor's there.
Yeah.
To show, I know we love to say, oh, is he a 3-down guy? The Eagles don't use guys like that much. Like he could play 3 consecutive plays, but then he might sit for 2 or 3 plays because of the rotation, right? But can I see that motor? Can I see that I don't know, that energy? Can I see that attack from Jalen Carter day one? And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, you have to. And I think, to your point, you have to start him day one. I think when you're talking about a top 10 draft pick for an Eagles team that just went to the Super Bowl, that guy has to start.
Well, dude,
like,
a top 10
generally speaking,
pick. Right.
That guy has to start in almost every scenario when you're talking about a
top 10 draft pick that was supposed to be a top 5 draft pick.
Yeah. Top 5 talent, right? Like top 3 talent.
Oh,
you're talking about Will Anderson and
a lot of people,
probably better than him as
a
far
lot
as
of people,
rankings.
Top 1.
Yeah. The only arguments are Will Anderson and maybe a quarterback that you like. Like that's the only topic of conversation that you're arguing that's better than Jalen Carter in this draft. Maybe some corners, right? Some corners with upside. I don't know, but Jalen Carter, it's convenient for him coming in as a rookie, coming in as a top 10 pick, because a guy like Javon Hargrave, the caliber of Hargrave, leaves. That creates this wide open gap, and that is for Jalen Carter. He needs to be inserted in that gap this year. I wouldn't, honestly, maybe you uptick Jordan Davis's snaps and take some of Fletcher Cox's snaps out of it, right? And you could give a few of the Javon Hargrave snaps to Cox, right? Like keep him happy, of course. But I want to see a bunch of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on the field together because they complement each other well.
Yeah.
These are your young defensive tackles. It's time to get these guys playing together.
Carter. I want to see Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
And Nolan Smith.
Yeah.
On the field together.
There's so many things they can try with this defensive unit.
Let's play one quick little game to wrap up this hour show here, Scotty. So, again, we're expecting him in the long term to be better than Javon Hargrave. But year one, it's a tough ask for a guy to come in and have double-digit 11 sacks. I get it. So we're going to play an over-under game with his replacees numbers from last year. So Javon Hargrave had 60 tackles last year? Yeah.
60 combined.
60 combined, 23 assists.
Solo. Yeah.
Okay. Over under 60 combined tackles for Jalen Carter this season. How active?
I originally went under just because I figured he's not going to get the snaps that Javon Hargrave got, but at the same time, he's not looked at as a run deficient defensive tackle, so he may be in on those rundowns, be able to get more tackles. I'm still going to go with under, just being a rookie. It's not going to. I don't think that's going to be his main focus.
All right, over under 50.
He's going to be a pass rushing defensive tackle. What'd you say?
Over under 50.
I would say right around that mark.
Is he slightly below Hargrave? Yeah, that's what I'm
35 to 50 is where I would put him. And I had him at originally around 40, but yeah, I would say 35 to 50 tackles.
All right, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go to Hargrave's 2021 year, okay? Because last year is just
a little more
outlier for
realistic.
everybody. So he actually had more tackles that year. He had 63 combined, 36 assisted. So he was more active there. We're going to say under for that. But his sack total was 7.5 in Philly. Over under 7.5 sacks for Jalen Carter.
I have him at 6 sacks predicted going into this, but 7.5. With this defensive line, the only thing that I would say, if he gets defensive tackle 1, DT1 snaps, I have him going over. The only thing that could stop him is just this rotation. They do have a very deep defensive line overall. And there's a lot of sacks to be spread around, right? Hassan Reddick's going to get double digit. Josh Sweat's going to get probably 7 to 8 plus sacks, right? Brandon Graham's going to have 5 plus sacks this year, I'm sure.
Nolan Smith will probably have a handful.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot that goes around. It's how many can Jalen Carter get involved in on those? And I think he is a guy that can get back there often. It's going to depend on the scenarios that he's used in. But I would say his talent level and what he does
That's the thing, bro.
He can get that in his rookie year.
If Jalen Carter is as advertised, he's going over.
Yeah.
Regardless of a little bit limited of numbers, limited snaps, he's still that good apparently. So we'll see, man. I will say, I think he almost has to start, and because here's why. What's the alternative? Like, okay, you're going to start Fletch, right?
Yeah.
Who's your other defensive tackle? Milton Williams?
Yeah,
Milton Williams is a nice rotation piece.
Solid. Yeah.
Why would Milton Williams start over Jalen Carter outside of the fact of age? There is no reason.
Yeah, no. I see absolutely no reason.
Who's the other dude?
Jordan Davis.
Oh, well, Jordan Davis. Yeah, I forgot about him. But are you going to start Fletch and Jordan Davis together?
No, I'd rather have a defensive tackle. Fletcher, he can get to the quarterback, but that's not necessarily his strength at this point in his career, right? Being a pass rusher, I would say you would want somebody in there to balance that out, and Jalen Carter would be that.
No, I agree, man. With that said, that is going to wrap up our Eagle of the Day segment, and it is going to wrap up this Friday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. Guys, thank you to everyone who tuned in live. Thank you to everyone that's going to catch the replay, and thanks to everyone who dropped their comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Is the best spot to get your thoughts and comments. Pull it up here on the screen with us, guys. Don't forget to check out our friends over at Manscaped. Use promo code DSM at checkout for 20% off your total order and free shipping. Again, that's promo code DSM on your screen for 20% off your total order at checkout, plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Your balls will certainly thank you. For myself, for Scotty, for the rest of DSM Media, have a great rest of your weekend. We will see you on Monday.
Happy Friday, everybody.
And Philadelphia has it.